when I was growing up, it was very difficult to play for Australia. England come asking, and I was delighted to play for them. So, no, I was very honoured to play. And I'm sure they needed an Aussie, maybe not.
So your father, he's Italian,
yes.
and your mother is true blue Aussie. What was the deciding factor for you to finally say, okay, I'll play for England? Was it a difficult decision?
It was a very difficult decision,
Yeah.
and I think nowadays you see lots of players playing all around the world, and also the international calendars are very much aligned, so it's easier to play for your country. So players now jet off to South America, they jet off back to America, Australia, wherever it is. When I was playing, it wasn't like that. It was very, very difficult. I did get asked to play for Australia when I was 18. I'd just got into the Aston Villa first team, and for an Aussie, that was a huge thing, and I was so delighted. We were supposed to play, I think it was American Samoa and Fiji and the Solomon Islands. These games, stop laughing, these games weren't big.
I'm not laughing, I'm just nodding in
These games
agreement.
weren't big, they were small games, but to play for your country is very important. But at the same time, Aston Villa, my games coming up were against Manchester United, were against Arsenal, and that's when the manager said to me at Aston Villa, he said, "Are you serious, Tony? You need to play here. Make sure you keep your spot in the first team." So then I unfortunately had to turn down Australia. As the years progressed, 1 or 2 years later, England came to me and asked me, "You do know 5 years residence, you can play for England." So that's what happened. I said yes, and I waited.
What actually got you interested in football back then?
My father. Father being Italian, they absolutely loved their football. And then it was very much that the Italians would play together, the Yugoslavs would play together, the Croats would play, and it was all like that. So, which wasn't ideal. But a lot of the kids at school, it was all soccer. That's what they played. Same as in America, same sort of thing. But the problem was, once you got past the grassroots, where would you then go to? Because there was no real big professional league in that country. Australia now has the A-League, which is getting better. America doing very well, obviously, with the MLS. But when I was there, at 15, I was already in the first team. So there wasn't too much further to go, and I had to go somewhere else. So as a youngster growing up, it was all about my dad just taking me and me just loving playing football.
Okay. Did you play any other sports back then?
I did. I played Aussie rules. I'm a little bit small, as you might be able to tell, so therefore that didn't last very long. I was very quick. I could get away from the big guys, but no. Cricket, but again, cricket, once you got better at cricket, the games got longer and longer, and I got bored. That's no good. So for me, it was always about soccer, and I think the better I got at soccer as well, that you had to then play Saturday for your school, Sunday for your club, and in the end, I just loved it and played all the time.
Okay. How true was it that you wrote to 14 clubs at that time to ask for trials?
I did.
Yeah,
I
at
wrote
15?
At 15. And looking back, I have no idea what I was doing, you know, how it worked, but at the time I was very determined to do exactly that. And I thought, okay, I'm a good player. I want to see how good I can be when I get older. I need to go somewhere to play professionally. And I picked the top 14 clubs. I just picked them all out. Whoever was 15th, I can't remember, but I didn't write to them. I just wrote to the top 14.
Okay.
Only one replied.
Okay.
But when I got that letter with the badge of Aston Villa on the front, I was so excited. And I opened it up, and it actually said I could have a 4-day trial. I wasn't allowed to be there on a Friday because they were preparing for the game. Yeah. So I booked my tickets. My dad came with me, and that's it. 15, and I was off to Aston Villa to Birmingham.
You know what? I'm actually pretty curious as to what is in the content of the letter. You know, what does a 15-year-old write to all the 14 clubs that he wants to trial in?
You've got to try and sell yourself somehow. So I just said, you know, through all my career, because I started at under 5s and under 6, and I was top scorer then and player of the year then and this, that and the other. Obviously, in England, it meant absolutely nothing whatsoever.
Did you include a little picture?
Pictures and everything, and medals and everything. I looked great, it looked wonderful. But I don't know what you were supposed to do, but I suppose they looked and said, you know what, if he goes to this effort, then we'll give him a trial. Okay,
so you and your dad pack your bags, went to trial at Aston Villa at 15. How was that like?
Really difficult and cold. Oh, it was cold when I got there. I got there in October, November time. It was freezing. I've never been out of Australia. I was at Adelaide, beautiful weather, and I go to Birmingham, and it was cold. Had to train with the apprentices. Now, I was 15. The apprentices were 16, 17 and 18. And they'd already had 1 or 2 years full-time training. So for me, I was a long way behind. And I remember the first day training, I couldn't get near the ball. They're knocking it around, and I'm sprinting after it. I'm thinking, wow, these guys are good. These guys are really good.
Maybe I'm not so good after all.
I'm not so good now. I'm thinking, okay, the next day I talked to my dad in the evening, right, the next day I'll try this and I'll try that. Anyway, gradually I got used to the pace of it. Gradually I did pretty well.
Okay.
And 2 weeks later they said they wanted to sign me. So yeah, it was great.
Okay. How was that like though, when they said, okay, we're going to sign you?
No, it
Were
didn't
you
sink
expecting
in.
that or
no? No, not at all.
You were thinking that you're going to just pack your bags and go home?
Yeah, and just go somewhere else. Well, I would have tried another club and
Okay.
another club. I was not going to give up. And I suppose that's what they saw. They
Yeah.
saw someone very tenacious. And I
Okay.
think within a week or two, I'd improved, you know, a heck of a lot.
Okay.
But I was too young and I had to go to school. So they signed me. And I had to go to school. My dad came back and that was the most difficult thing because
You
in
were
your
by
head,
yourself.
I was by myself and I wanted to play football.
Yeah.
And I'd signed, but I had to go to school for 6 months. And I lived with the other apprentices, so there was 15 guys,
Okay.
and they were all full-time playing football, and I went off to school. And I just found that very difficult
Okay.
because I went there for one reason, and it wasn't to go to school, it was to play football.